Okay, so we're heading way up north to a sea that pretty much breaks all the rules of what an ocean is supposed to be. Tucked right between Finland and Sweden, this little corner of the Baltic is a place of incredible extremes, where the normal laws of marine biology they just don't apply.
I love this line because it captures the area perfectly. You think you know what a sea is, right? But then the Baltic comes along with a few surprises that completely change the game. It's a place that will absolutely keep you on your toes.
So, get this. Can you imagine a sea where you can catch a pike? You know, a fish that belongs in a freshwater lake? Or what about an ocean that freezes so solid that you can literally walk on it for miles? I know, it sounds like something out of a fantasy novel, but this is the real deal in the Gulf of Bothnia.
And that incredible transformation creates what the locals call the White Ocean. Yep, for months, the Gulf of Bothnia just stops being a sea. It becomes this vast, solid sheet of ice, and every living thing, from people to animals, has to totally adapt to a frozen reality.
So why does it freeze so easily? Well, it all comes down to the salt, or rather, the lack of it. The salt content here is ridiculously low, just 0.5%. That's because hundreds of rivers are constantly dumping fresh water in, making it act more like a gigantic lake than a sea.
And we are not talking about a thin little layer of ice you can skate on. Oh no! At its thickest, this ice shield gets to be 1.2 meters thick. That's nearly 4 feet of solid ice. It's just an immense, powerful force of nature.
And just to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about, this White Ocean is roughly 300 kilometers long by 150 kilometers wide. It's a massive frozen wilderness, an entire chunk of the sea, just locked down in ice for months.
So the big question is, how does anything survive in a world that's completely frozen over? Well, as it turns out, life finds a way, and the animals here have developed some of the most clever, most ingenious survival strategies you can possibly imagine.
Let's start with the ringed seal. For this animal, the ice isn't a problem, it's the solution. It uses its super strong claws to keep breathing holes open in that thick ice. But here's the really brilliant part. The mother digs a cozy little snow cave right into the ice to give birth and raise her pup. It's a perfect nursery, totally hidden from predators and the harsh weather.
Now the otter, it plays a totally different game. The otter's whole strategy is to find the loopholes, the places that don't freeze. It hangs out in these super fast-flowing river rapids that stay open even when it's minus 30 degrees. And to survive that cold, it relies on this incredibly dense fur and has to eat up to 1 kilogram of fish every single day just to keep its internal furnace running.
So you've got these two completely opposite approaches to survival. The seal embraces the ice. It uses it for protection. The otter avoids the ice, finding those rare pockets of open water to find food. It's the same frozen world, but two totally different and totally brilliant solutions.
But of course, winter doesn't last forever. And when the thaw finally comes, it kicks off one of the most incredible events in the Baltic calendar, a massive fish migration, all driven by the primal need to reproduce. Now here's where it gets really fascinating. Fish like pike and perch can totally live in the low-salt sea, no problem. But they can't reproduce there. Their eggs simply need pure fresh water to survive. That means they have to go on this epic journey, leaving the sea behind to swim up the rivers.
And let me tell you, this journey is a real-life obstacle course. They have to exit the sea, get funneled into these crowded river mouths, and then fight their way through super shallow, rocky channels. A lot of them don't make it. They just get stranded or exhausted. And it's all for that one goal, reaching the safe spawning grounds. So when you have this huge rush of fish all at once, it creates a massive ripple effect through the whole ecosystem. For all the predators in the area, it's basically a festival. And for other animals, this season of plenty is the perfect time for a little courtship.
The riverbanks pretty much turn into an all-you-can-eat buffet. It's a feeding frenzy. You've got sea eagles and gulls circling overhead, diving down for a meal. And you even have cranes, which usually just eat insects and things, learning to take advantage of the situation by feasting on these big, exhausted pike.
And with all that extra food, there's plenty of energy to spare for other activities. In the springtime, the cranes just go into overdrive. They perform these spectacular dances, leaping into the air, flapping their wings, calling out to each other. It's all about reinforcing that bond with their lifelong partner. You know, all this life tells a really great story of hope, too. The white-tailed sea eagle, this amazing predator, was almost completely wiped out in Finland back in the 1970s. But thanks to some incredible conservation work, their numbers have made a fantastic comeback. And that's not the only success story. The Hooper swan, Finland's national bird, was facing the same dark fate back in the 50s. But today, you can hear their amazing trombone-like calls all over the place again. Their population has rebounded to almost 7,000 breeding pairs. Just amazing.
Okay, but there is one last incredible force shaping this whole region. It's much, much slower than the winter ice, but it's even more powerful. The very ground beneath our feet is rising. The whole world here is being reshaped in super slow motion.
It's a phenomenon called post-glacial rebound. So what is that? Well, about 10,000 years ago, this entire area was buried under a sheet of ice that was 3 kilometers thick. The unbelievable weight literally pushed the Earth's crust down like a thumb on a rubber ball. When that ice finally melted, the land started to slowly spring back up. And the crazy part is, it's still rising today.
It's rising at a rate of about 1 centimeter every single year. I know, that doesn't sound like a lot, but add that up over a human lifetime, and it's a huge difference. Over centuries, it completely redraws the map.
To give you an idea of the impact, in just 100 years, a boathouse that's sitting on the shore today will be completely stranded on dry land. And get this, in about 2,500 years, the land will have risen so much that you'll be able to walk from Finland to Sweden. How wild is that?
So, from a sea that turns to solid ice, to creatures with these mind-blowing survival tricks, to a land that is literally rising up from the seafloor, the Gulf of Bothnia is a world defined by constant, dramatic change. It really makes you stop and wonder, doesn't it? What will this incredible landscape become next?